what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I'm reading sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the oldest professional baseball team in Major League Baseball, the Cincinnati Reds. Now, do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. You guys are awesome. I'm up to 2,439 subscribers. As always, I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, why not? Please do so. Please go to the YouTube channel Sports with Strawberry Ice. Hit the subscription button and the bell for notification. Every time I go live, you'll be notified. Also, exclusively in the YouTube chat crew, we're doing super chats. So if you got something, a trade rumor or a trade that you were proposing to Jeff Carr, get his thoughts on, or if you just want to support the show, give me a super chat. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, I'm coming to you live from this glorious place down here. It's the Ice Cave. The Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And I know we're talking baseball, but we still hit the jackpot when we drafted Joe Burrow. If you want any of the gear, the hats, the banners, the shirts, and that stuff, all the gear is at jackpotjoey9.com. The beer, which is right over my right shoulder and in front of me here, is from Break Brewery. It's there and also at almost every major Kroger in the tri-state area. And remember, portions of the proceed of all these purchases go to the Joe Burrow Foundation. So you're not only wearing cool stuff, but you're also drinking delicious beer, but you're helping people out. What's up to everybody in the chat? I know it's early, but it's Reds talk. So I reached out to Jeff Carr last night. I said, hey, you want to come on the show? I said they already signed Pagan. Emilio! They already signed him. I said, maybe they'll trade for somebody else. You want to come on today at noon? He said, absolutely. So we are here. Stranger, what is up? You were in the chat. You were always there. And my boy, Joey Carr, what's up? So hopefully, hello to everybody on ZTV if you guys are watching. Anyway, let's get to this. The man who has his thumb on the pulse of every move in the offseason with the Cincinnati Reds. He's Jeff Carr. What's going on, Jeff?
Man, in the course of 24 hours, Jeff, the Reds got serious.
Yes,
and I'm
they
so
did.
pumped.
Me too, dude. Hey, but both of our voices are messed up, I think, because we both didn't get any sleep last night because you were up writing about but yesterday it was all about Emilio, which people reached out to me like, oh, is he that good of a reliever? I was like, yeah, I mean, he's pretty good. I'll take him. I mean, now he's the highest paid player on the Cincinnati Reds, which I think is kind of funny. But then they turned around last night and they signed Nick Martinez, which is the guy I think you were talking about potentially of the Reds signing. So just give me your thoughts on both. Start with Emilio first.
Yeah, both guys now become the highest paid Reds. Nick Martinez just jumped ahead of Emilio Pagan. But I love both these signings, and they're two different kinds of pitchers. Pagan, a little bit more of a, limits the walks, does give up some fly balls and things like that. So you kind of hope that comes down a little bit, right. But very efficient, got a 4-pitch mix you love to see. And Nick Martinez is really, and shout out, and I have lost the username, but somebody did it on Twitter, tweeted at me and said, Nick Martinez is the Spencer Steer of the pitching staff. He can relieve. He can be a long man. He can close out a ball game. He can start a ball game. There's so many different things that Nick Martinez can do, but he's going to come in and start at least as we come into spring training. They're giving him starter money and not the Luke Weaver starting money, like actual starter money, which you love to see.
Right. Now, speaking of starters, the one I would love to get on is, and I think I rewatched the show yesterday. I said the wrong Bieber. I said Justin Bieber, but I actually meant Shane Bieber. So Freudian slip there. There are rumors going around at the Reds and the Indians. The Guardians are talking. Have you heard any more to that? Does Nick Martinez kind of change any of that, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting because just as the Reds are announced that, they're in on Tyler Glass now, they're in on Shane Bieber, then you hear rumors of the Dylan Cease trade that the White Sox are trying to work out is ramping up. So I kind of wonder if Nick Krall didn't do his due diligence with all three of these to see which one fits the best. Because if you think about it, bringing in a guy like Martinez who can slot in as a spot starter, he can be your 5th starter type dude. Mm-hmm. If you add a Shane Bieber with that is phenomenal because you're talking about a young pitching staff that has oodles of talent, oodles of potential, but lots of question marks. We don't know what we don't know about this pitching staff right now. And
Right.
as we figure that out, to have both of these guys who have been veterans, who have been here, been in the major leagues and pitched, that is a huge value to have. That was one of the reasons why we said it's so important that the Reds add pitching
Right.
however they can. And the really good news is the Reds were able to bolster the bullpen with Pagan. And then if there's a situation where you have 5 starters that are better than Nick Martinez, well, then your bullpen just benefits too. It is a
Right.
beautiful signing.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I really like about the Martinez one is you need that swing guy, the veteran guy who has started and has come out of the bullpen and can do either or for you. Because let's face it, I mean, 2012 our pitchers have made every start. That rarely ever happens. So
Right.
more likely and last year, it's the complete opposite. We barely had any of our start pitchers make every start. Actually, we didn't have any of them make every single start. So you need that guy, and with this being such a young team, having that veteran presence will help in that tremendously. Now I know you and your co-host there on Locked On Reds have differing opinions of what type of starting pitcher we should get. I'm on your side. I am for getting that number one guy, getting that anchor, because that just helps. And I know Bieber would only be 1 year. I would like to hopefully extend him, but if that's all you got for 1 year, to me, 1 year of that one guy showing Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Ashcraft, Abbott, all these guys, what it takes to pitch 200 innings, which I don't know if that's actually accomplishable anymore because nobody pitched that many. All right, let's say 150 innings, but at least making every single start and taking care of your body, because I think that's been one of the biggest problems with this pitching staff is they can't stay healthy. Hunter Green has not had a healthy year. Lodolo hasn't had a healthy year. Now Abbott had a healthy year, but he got wore out by the end of the year because he's never pitched that many innings. Ashcraft, again, none of them were healthy or at full strength by the end of the season. And I think if you can get that guy just to show them how to do, like the Johnny Cueto, going there running the stairs and showing them what it takes to consistently make your starts right there. I think that is huge in of itself right there.
And I've heard from some different folks who have covered Shane Bieber that he would fit like a glove personality-wise with this team. He would be the kind of guy that fits right in. And I think that is as important as anything, because it's clear who the leaders on this team are. They don't need to go out and get a guy who's going to come in here and be all bravado, like I'm the dude that's going to run this place. Like, no, we've already got those guys. As long as you get the other guys that kind of fall into line with that, I really think that that's key. And Shane Bieber really fits that mold. And I know that, he's kind of gone through a little bit of a downturn. Last year dealt with some elbow issues and missed a couple of months. And so that maybe gives you a little bit of pause, but on the other side of that could also drive down how expensive it would be to trade for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as I would love to have Dylan Cease, he's going to be uber expensive.
Yes.
It's going to take a lot to go get him. And Tyler Glasnow, while he is definitely not on the same level as Dylan Cease, the Rays, there's just the Rays are that guy in your fantasy football league that you don't want to trade with, because whatever you do, you're going to come out on the wrong side of it.
Right.
And I feel like I don't want to. If you can avoid trading with the Rays, although I saw some people saying Tyler Glasnow and Randy Arozarena.
You read my mind. That's exactly where I was going. That was my next question there. I'd be for it. Yeah, I would be for that. Now, see, the thing is, for me, the guy, the name I keep hearing is Connor Phillips, and I know we're going to have to give somebody up. I know we are, and I keep trying to tell myself we have a lot. That's the reason we have these guys. We have so many of them, so we can make some of these trades. But I really like Connor Phillips a lot. But the thing is, I like Connor Phillips. I like Ashcraft. I like all of them.
Right.
I mean, I think they all have a potential to be very good starting pitchers. So just to get Glasgow and Arozarena, I said his name right. What do you think that would take? Would it take I know it take Connor Phillips and something else. Would it be Connor Phillips? Would they take Jonathan India off of us? I mean, I don't know if that would, money wise, he cost them money. Rays usually don't want to spend any money. What do you think that trade package would look like?
Well, I definitely think those guys could be a part of it. Arozarena, and I was looking the website that I usually rely on when I'm talking about trade values, because I know every single fan does this. It's not just Reds fans, it's every fan of every team in every sport really overvalues their own players
Yes,
and undervalues the other team's players.
I do
Because
that. Yeah.
I mean, and my favorite example is, a couple of years ago, whenever the Yankees fans were trying to get Luis Castillo, and they're just like, "We'll give you a Clint Frazier and a broken seat from left field or something."
Right. Yeah.
So I look at baseballtradevalues.com, and if you add Randy Arozarena to Tyler Glasnow, then the value becomes very similar to Dylan Cease.
Mm.
So you're probably talking about a trade package that includes India, most likely Connor Phillips or Rhett Lauder, and then you're probably even looking at either Edwin Arroyo or Sal Stewart, which are two top 10 guys, and then probably a mid-level guy on top of that. It's going to be a big trade, and it's not going to be something that I think Reds fans look at immediately and fall in love with, but that's kind of the whole conundrum that Reds social media has gone through over the last few years, is that how many prospects do we hang on to and how many prospects do we use as trade chips to bring in bona fide talent? Because make no mistake about it, Tyler Glasnow, despite not having the durability numbers that you see with some other pitchers, is very, very good. And Randy Arozarena would immediately make this outfield a strength, whereas right now it's a big question mark.
Yeah, both those will be great pieces. And to your point, Glass, if they make that trade, and we give up those prospects along with India, to me, you got to have Glasnow. You got to have a contract extension in place for him to sign. Because I would give up all those guys, and you're only guaranteed 1 year. Now, I was kind of having not a Twitter beef, but Natty Sports tweeted out a trade that involved Arroyo. And I'm a big Arroyo fan. I'm like, I could see him come up and being our everyday shortstop next year, and we move Ellie Tiafit if he can prove he can hit. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, we got so many shortstops, yada yada." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you're right. We do have a whole bunch of shortstop." And I got back in my head like, "Okay, you shouldn't sit there and like, all right, this guy's untradeable. This guy's untradeable." Like, we have a lot of pieces. We can trade guys. I think I have this fear that how much do we trust the Reds front office? All right, we say we made this big trade, and we traded some of our really big prospects or whatever, and we get Glasnow. I'm just going with this, and we get Randy and Glasnow. We resign them. You always have the back of your head. Well, are they really going to, just turn around and trade him next year? Are they? I know that's in the back of my head to why I'm afraid. I'll say to give up some of these prospects because of the season we had last year, because it was all built on prospects, and to trust the Reds management is kind of hard for me as a Reds fan right now. Do you find that a lot on Reds Twitter or Twitter X, whatever you call it?
I would definitely say that it's mixed. I'm in the camp that I trust Nick Krall, and I think that Nick Krall is going to make the right move. I think he understands, like, if you start talking, if we're talking about a trade, whether it be for Glasnow and Arozarena or Dylan Cease or whatever other deals we can kind of think of, if you start talking about Edwin Arroyo, Sal Stewart, Rhett Lauder, these big name prospects, you're getting back somebody who has multiple years of control. I don't think they would even consider an idea where they give up one of their top guys for a 1 year or really even 2 year guy. Like, I think that, if you're talking about a big name prospect of Arroyo or even we maybe even stretching some of the guys in the majors like Marte or CES or something like that, you're getting back somebody that has lots of years of control. So I think that they would stomach that trade for Dylan Cease because Dylan Cease has plenty of years of control left.
Right.
Bieber and Glasnow, there would need to be a Sonny Gray type thing where you're coming here with a contract extension in hand,
right,
and you're going to be here for more than just 1 year. I could see that being the case, especially for both Glasnow or Bieber, because of the injury history that they've dealt with. I think that guaranteed years probably is a good thing for them, but it's all about that prospect capital. And Nick Krall, I don't think, is going to get fleeced. I think if we've learned anything, and I understand the reservations about, they seem to trade away everybody as soon as they get good. The situation that it was a couple of years ago is that they decided that Dick Williams went all in, and what Dick Williams did wasn't enough to go all in, and they couldn't add more to the payroll for whatever reason. as much as we would have loved them to.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to reassess. And the trades that Nick Kroll made, that at that time, everybody, including myself, was just ripping our hair out. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, you came on my show multiple times. We both were complaining about it. I remember. I'm like, what are we doing?
They've all turned out really good.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I think that seeing what he did with those gives me the kind of trust that we need to give to him this offseason.
Yeah, I guess I trust Nick Kroll. I don't trust the Castellinis. That's the part that the trust part that I don't, because Nick Kroll could go and do all this stuff, and then all of a sudden Bob or his son go, oh, you know what? We don't have any money again. We're gonna trade everybody. You know, if they get anybody with money right now, which right now you got two guys, two relievers. That's it. So we don't have to worry about that right now. But if you start adding, you know, a Glasnow, a Rosarina, you know, those guys are gonna, you know, cost more money. And if he, you know, a year from now it doesn't work, which hopefully it will, you know, that's anyway. That's the fear for me. It's just like they all of a sudden go, oh, we're not going to do it. You know, we're going to go trade everybody off again now. Ryan here's got a. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say there's something I've been thinking about these two free agent deals that kind of gives me a hint as to what they're thinking with all of that, because the Pagan deal is 1 year plus a player option, and Nick Martinez is a 2-year deal, but with an opt-out after year one. I think what the Reds are trying to do this offseason is not necessarily tie themselves down to somebody for 5, 6, 7 years. I think that what they are trying to do is supplement the talent on this team. They understand the core. They understand the players that are going to be here for a long time, and they see the holes in the team. They say, here's how we're going to fill them. We're going to find guys who we can keep here 1, maybe 2 years. And you know what? If they don't work out, then we're not tethered to them for multiple years, because they look back on the Moose contract and they say, that didn't work.
Right.
And you can look back on contracts of years past, like Eric Milton and things like that. And it's just like, you don't want to tie yourself to a guy just in case things really kind of fall through. And if you know, they take a next step or something like that, I think who they want to be their guys for a long term are the guys that they drafted and the guys that they brought up through their farm system.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, because the way they have this set up is the core is here. The core for the next, you know, 5 to 7 years is already here. You're just adding pieces to that, you know. So that is, so yes, I agree with that. Like in 2020, we were adding major pieces. It was a total, you know, the guys they brought in were major parts of that team and major pillars, you know, leaders, and also we already have all that stuff here. So we have guys who have our leader, like, and that's really, I'll go with this. People have brought up, if we trade Jonathan India, you know, he's our quote unquote leader, which I do agree with that. I think he is our leader. And I do think when he was gone, that did hurt the team a little bit. I think with the team going through the season they went through last year with all the young guys, I think a guy like Matty Batts, Ellie, Spencer Steer, you know, these guys have been through this already. I think we're going to be okay if we lose Jonathan India for his leadership. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think that there are multiple guys who could step into the leader role. I think you could almost argue in my mind that Matt McLain's already there. And I think that there was some different things that, you know, you heard from Joey or you heard from other players like Will Benson or something like that, that would let you know that, man, Matt McLain, he's not just here to have like 4 at-bats a night, make a couple of plays, throw to first, and then go home. Like, he is all in
right
on this team, being here, making sure everybody's on the same page, making sure everybody's together. I think that Matt McLain in a couple of years, even if Jonathan India is still here, may eclipse Jonathan India and become that leader, that captain. Like, I don't necessarily know that the Reds will hand out the captaincy, but if they did, I think it would be for Matt McLain.
Yeah, last time was Larkin. Larkin was the last one they actually had to see. So it's been a while. It's not something that they just hand out to everybody. Chandler here's got a question. We kind of touched on this, but I'll let you say it again. Martinez, starting pitcher or not? And then he said, seems like a lot of money for a relief pitcher. Yeah, what's your thoughts on Art? You kind of touched that at the beginning, but go ahead and rehash that for people.
Yeah, no, you hit that on the head there, Chandler. Like 12 or 13 million. They're definitely going to stretch him out as a starter in spring training and then kind of go from there. Like, see how things go. Actually, last year, if you break down his numbers, he made think it was 9 starts, and he had a 2.5 ERA in 42 innings pitched as a starter. Now, that definitely means that there were some starts he was only going 3 or 4 innings. But again, he is the kind of guy I think that could be stretched out to a 5 inning start. He's got 5 pitches that he throws, 3 different types of fastballs. But the pitch that he throws the most is his changeup, i.e., Luis Castillo. Kind of reminds me a little bit of that. And when you look at the 5 pitches that he throws, none of them, because we always talk about this one with Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, where it seems like they throw one pitch over half the time. None of the pitches that Nick Martinez throws, he throws more than a quarter of the time. He really mixes them well, and he's able to move them all around the zone. I think that we're really going to be impressed with what he gives the Reds, and I definitely think that he can be a starter, but I think he's almost a guy that I don't necessarily want to limit. If we've got him in the rotation, I almost kind of want to see it be like a 6-man rotation.
Right. Now, I have a question. This is something that me and Chandler, who has questions, my son, me and him are having this discussion the other day about Hunter Green. And he's big, like the new age of baseball is throw it as hard as you can and keep throwing it as hard as you can. Keep throwing it as hard as you can. And I keep trying to tell him, you don't have to get major league pitchers out. If you throw it as hard as you can right down the middle and it's not, the ball isn't placed right, they're going to hit the ball. They're major league hitters. Now, that's kind of been my issue with Hunter Green, where I think he's fallen in love with trying to throw the ball hard, but he loses control when he does that. Now, is that something that you think have the Reds come out, which I think they did, but I can't remember. Have they come out and said anything that they're trying to work with him on his control, maybe slowing the ball down a little bit, at least so he can control it a little more? Because that if he can get to the point where he can control his stuff, he's going to be a number 1 starter and all-star pitcher and, Cy Young, Award candidate, all that stuff that we think he can become. He can. He just got to control his pitches a little more. Have you heard any more about Hunter Green?
There's not been anything specifically said, but you're absolutely right. Like, I can circle a few different starts in my mind last year where he took a few miles off the fastball, and then it kind of turned into like a 2-seam action where, it breaks away from lefties and it breaks into righties. And he was really starting to develop that. And the more that you saw him work that, the more that you saw him have control of that, especially up in the zone, hitting the corners and things like that, he was becoming unhittable with that, because what happens is that movement is totally different from his slider. So he's able to throw those. And if he can kind of tunnel them in the same like eye level to the hitter, then you can really fool the hitter. And I think that the more he focuses on that, not necessarily hitting the velocity, because as fun as it is to think about a guy who can throw 100, 110 pitches and maybe go 6, 7 innings and still in the 7th inning is reaching back and hitting 102, this day and age of baseball, hitters are used to that. Hitters, there's been multiple guys that have said it's easier for me to hit 102 coming at me than it is 95 with movement.
Yes.
95 with movement really messes with you, because as soon as you think it's going to be right here, it's right over here. And maybe you don't swing and miss, but you're rolling over top of it. You're hitting a lazy ground ball that the infield's got no problem fielding. And that is really where his next step is coming from. As much as we want that to be the third, we want his next step to be like a third pitch, that changeup. I looked at this and it kind of blew my mind. Last season compared to the season before, he threw the exact same percentage of changeups. So he did not grow in his confidence for his changeup. I think the biggest next step for him will be how can he kind of mold that fastball into something that moves and something that turns into a little bit more of a 2-seamer slash, like sinker ball fashion.
I mean, I always go to Greg Maddux. I mean, he threw the ball 50 miles an hour, which that's an exaggeration. He threw a little harder than that, but it wasn't that hard. And it was all about movement and ball placement, where he pitched it and how much it moved. And to me, people get just so enamored with the speed. It's like, you don't have, like you just said, if the ball is straight and it's 100, it could be 1,000 miles an hour. A major league baseball player could probably figure out how to time it up. Maybe not 1,000 miles an hour, but they can figure out how to time it. There's a reason they're major league hitters. They have tremendous eye-hand coordination. But if you're going to swing at the spot and, like you said, the ball's over here, that throws your timing off. So that's where it's going to go back to that. It always does. Everything keeps, revolving around the sun. So Chandler's got another question here about Martinez. He said, I've seen speculation that the Reds could push him to add a sweeper would really round out his pitching. He said elite there, but he meant actually Martinez. So have you heard that at all?
I have not heard that necessarily. It's funny because Steve and I talk about this a lot off the air, but like last year was the first year I really heard anything about a sweeper.
Yeah, me too.
I just always kind of thought like, wow, that slider is like not real. Like that whole gif of like that guy's not real. Like that sweepers are not real. And like somebody figured out a word to call them this past year. But I love the idea of how you add different pitches and stuff like that. But Derek Johnson has always said that his MO and what he wants the Reds' MO to be is he's going to find out what you're good at and he's going to make you great at it. And I think that we've seen that with a lot of different pitchers. I mean, we've seen that with Ian Gibaut. We saw it with Buck Farmer. We saw it with, name a waiver wire pickup. And I think the Reds have hit on those waiver wire guys more than they've missed, although I'm not advocating that they continue to build the team that way, but it's because of Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson is able to elevate those guys where they are greatest. He makes them even better. And I think that, Martinez, his changeup, looking at, the StatCast numbers on it, he throwed it. Wow. Need more coffee.
he threw it well.
He threw it well. He threw it the most, and he had almost 47% whiff rate on it and a batting average against of $150. People don't hit that changeup. And so if he can, if Derek Johnson can figure out a way to elevate that even more, we are talking about a bona fide starting pitcher that the Reds are going to get for a little bit below market price. And I was seeing something about this because there was an article and I forget who wrote it, but they're confused. What they're doing is they're confusing a lot of people. They called Nick Martinez a bargain basement deal.
Mm-hmm.
Bargain basement deal was Luke Weaver last year. Bargain basement deal is...
You said his name wrong. Dreamweaver. Gotta get his name right.
Yeah, Dreamweaver. Luke Dreamweaver last year. Bargain basement is what the Reds have done the last couple of off seasons. Mm-hmm. What he meant to say, and he misspoke in this article, I think it was on Fox Sports, but he misspoke in this article in saying that there are so many $20 million, $30 million starting pitchers that are out on the free agent market right now that we're going to see signed. Blake Snell is going to get a ton of money. Jordan Montgomery is going to get a ton of money. All these guys that it'd be awesome to see the Reds go get, but if the Reds could spend a little bit less on a guy like Nick Martinez and hit and get themselves a starting pitcher, then they're going to be able to allocate that money elsewhere, i.e. contract extensions for the young phenoms.
Now, speaking of that, that's because Tim, who brought this up here? Ryan wants to know if they are going to lock up Ellie anytime soon. Now, I think I heard you guys talking from another organization was talking about signing one of their AA players to a contract extension. I don't know if we're going to do that, but what's your thoughts on locking up Ellie or some of these other guys? They already locked Hunter Green up.
I definitely think it would be prudent. The issue with Ellie is going to be, I think they want to see him take that next step. We all know he can. He's got the talent. He's got far more talent than anybody else on this team, which is saying a lot, but he's just got to do it. And I think once he starts to show that, then they might consider it. The biggest issue with all of this, and this includes Matt McClain, this includes Noel Marte, this includes CES, is that their agent is Scott Boras.
They're all Scott Boras, yeah.
And Scott Boras is not dumb. Mm-hmm. And not to say that you got to be dumb to like get an early deal, but Scott Boras saw what the Braves did with Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies. Scott Boras isn't letting that happen.
Yeah.
As much as we would love to think it, like I think if the Reds approached him about signing Ellie or Matt McClain this year, he may almost balk at that. Like maybe giving them guaranteed years is good, but knowing what they can make in arbitration, like think about this. Last year, Shohei Ohtani was under arbitration and he made $30 million. Mm-hmm. Like if Ellie takes the steps that we think he can take, he can make a lot of money still in the arbitration system. So Scott Boras is not going to be in a hurry to acquiesce to a Reds request to sign one of these guys super early. I think it's more likely they probably extend Matt McClain or maybe even Spencer Steer. But I understand the way that things kind of work with a Scott Boras player, and he is not going to – there's no such thing as a hometown discount, and he's not going to sign them for less than they're worth.
Right. Now, with that being said, The NL Central is a lot of teams I think have kind of taken a step backwards. I know the Tweety Birds, which I still don't understand why he signed with them. It's Stein, our boy Sonny Gray. I kind of was hoping we'd get him, but the Brewers got a new manager. Cubs are what the Cubs are. If the Reds play this offseason right, which got off to a pretty good start here, do you think they could be the favorite in the NL Central?
Definitely. The only worry that I really have is the Cubs, because the Cubs are about to throw some money at some folks, and there's a lot of people that think that they are not just in on Ohtani, but one of the favorites to land Ohtani. So that could be a bit of an interesting thing. They're the only ones that give me a lot of pause. The Cardinals, the moves that they made just brought them back into the middle of the pack in the NL Central. Like, let's think about that for a minute, because they lost so many innings last year, whether it be through guys they traded before the deadline or Adam Wainwright finally retiring after 675 years of pitching. But you lose all of those innings and you get them back with guys like Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, who maybe they have a little bit of a resurgence, but last year both of those guys had very dubious stats. Kyle Gibson allowed the most hits in the major leagues, and Lance Lynn allowed the most homers in the major leagues.
Yeah.
So coming down from that, sure, they can come down from that, but how much are they going to come down from that? And then Sonny Gray, as much as we love Sonny Gray, there's still plenty of question marks surrounding him. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, Sonny Gray, it was reported that he had a back issue that he will always have to deal with. Now, I don't necessarily know where that is right now, but I definitely see that as nothing. And then the Brewers are very interesting to me because Corbin Burns is constantly in trade rumors.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as hot as like Dylan Cease or Glasnow or Bieber, but like the Dodgers are reportedly very interested in him. I think the Mariners are even interested in him, maybe the Yankees, but there's teams that are ready whenever the Brewers decide to blow it up, because losing Craig Counsell was a big loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily know that they are ready to kind of put more money in. In fact, there were reports that they might kind of trim payroll a little bit this offseason. And now allocating money to Jackson Churio, who we mentioned a couple of moments ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's their AA. He's their top prospect. He's considered one of the top prospects in all of baseball, but he hasn't played above AA. Right. And they're looking at a 6-year, like $80 million deal that they're going to give to this guy. It might be 8 years, $60 million. I might have flip those numbers. Anyway, whatever it is, they're going to give a long-term deal to this dude. And I think what they're looking at is maybe taking a step back and hoping that they can kind of retool for 2025. So I could definitely see the Reds being the favorite in this division. It all just depends on what the Cubs
do. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that. I think the Reds will be the leader in this division. I hope. Dave here has a long question. Let me try to read this all here. He said, have the Reds made their moves? Do you see them signing another pitcher or position player? I see lots of comments saying we need a 40 home run a year outfielder. I feel like Steer plays left. Really is your starting center fielder. Thoughts?
I definitely think so. I do see this comment a lot on our YouTube page and on Twitter and stuff like that about the 40 homer a year guy. Let's just call it who it is. It's Teoscar Hernandez. Like he's the only guy that's on the free agent, and maybe Cody Bellinger, but the Reds are not going to be able to outbid. Yeah. I mean, the Yankees are about to throw the whole kitchen sink at him. But I think it's going to be, if you're talking about a guy like that, it's Teoscar Hernandez. And Steve and I have both gone on the record as saying we would about do a backflip if the Reds went and got him, because he would feast at Great American Ballpark. Dude hits the ball. He had an average exit velocity last year that was right there, the same line as Ellie. Mm-hmm. So he hits the ball really, really hard every time he makes contact. He kind of had an uptick in strikeouts last year, but it was a lot more than he's used to. So I think that comes back down. And he's a pretty decent fielder. He's got a great arm. So you could stick him in right field every day and not be mad about it. And he's a right-handed hitter.
That's what we need, is a right-handed power.
Right. And because that's the hardest part about our outfield is that, I mean, I love Will Benson. I love TJ Friedl. I love Jake Fraley. Mm-hmm. Two of those guys don't play against lefties. Mm-hmm. And as much as we might want to stand on a table and say, give them their shot, we are no longer in the era of let's figure out who these guys are. We are now in the era of we got to know what we have because we're going for the playoffs.
Yep.
And the way that the Reds have operated is that they minimize, hard situations for their players. They put them in the best spots to be successful. And what that means is you don't put a lefty against a lefty. You don't put a righty who struggles against right-handed pitchers in those situations. And I don't think there's going to be a time there's going to be games anytime soon where Jake Fraley and Will Benson are hitting against left-handed pitching. Plus, like he mentions, Steer's going to play a lot in left field, which really only means there's 2 spots in the outfield on an everyday basis. So I kind of think that you could sign a guy like Teoscar Hernandez and then include a guy like Friedel or Fraley in a trade and maybe get you Shane Bieber or something like that. And that is kind of how Nick Krall wants to be. Make no mistake about it. He is not done. We did not just sign 2 pitchers
Right.
and add, what is it, $20 million in payroll, and we're going to call it a day. Like, there's more to be had.
Yeah, he said, I'd love to see Hernandez here, but also have young guys in the outfield. I can see Benson and Steer hitting 30 homers or more in the future. I can see that too, but like you said, Benson is hard. He struggled. They did give him a shot at left-handed pitchers. He does struggle with this. Now, this is one that me and my son have talked about. And where is the comment? Here it is. And people don't want this, but I would. He said, "Who's would be for signing Trevor Bauer?" I would. I mean, I give him a prove-it deal. I mean, I am for that. Where are you out on that, Jeff?
As much as I was talking about Shane Bieber fitting in with this team, I don't know that Trevor Bauer fits in with this team. And I'm not talking about the allegations and then the stuff that he was cleared of and all that other stuff. Trevor Bauer is an influencer. Trevor Bauer is very good at being in the limelight, very good at being in the forefront. And I think when you bring him in, you bring in his brand, and you have to figure out how his brand mixes with the Reds brand. And it's not going to be a situation where, well, Trevor Bauer is going to change a lot of things and fit in with this team. Trevor Bauer is who he is. He's not going to change. And while that might not necessarily be that bad of a thing if he's winning and if the Reds are winning and we go to a World Series, that's all really good, well and good. But if we're talking about another season where they're fighting for a wild card spot, and God forbid they miss out on the wild card spot, what else is going on with this team? Because I don't want there to be a situation where you've got players that find it to be a grind to come to the ballpark, because it was very evident that even when they were struggling in August and September was kind of a slog, they still loved being a part of this team. They still loved coming to the ballpark every day. And there have been some former teammates of Trevor Bauer that have said different things of like, he's good on the field and stuff, but I don't necessarily know that the Reds need to go there. There's so many other options out there. You have different guys on the free agents list you could go for. The Reds have money to spend. The Reds are not forced into, they're not being pigeonholed into finding cheap options. I think Nick Martinez was a very smart signing, but it's not because they had to go there. It's because they think that this is the best fit for their team, and they still have trade options and different things like that. If it's February, Trevor Bauer's still available and we're going to camp, maybe I entertain the idea then, but right now it's too early.
Right. So what you're basically telling me is going into the Reds Fest this weekend, we're going to unveil Tyler Glasnow and Randy Rosarina. That's going to be the big bombshell this weekend, right?
That would be amazing. I would absolutely love that.
That would be awesome. I would be all for that. But with Glasnow, like I said, they had the contract extension. Now, are you going to be down at Reds Fest all weekend, or are you just going down Friday or Saturday? You're down all weekend?
Just going to be Friday night. I got some other stuff going on Saturday, but definitely going to be down there Friday. We have a live show Friday afternoon tomorrow at 2 p.m. And then the moment that's done, I'll be heading down.
Cool. I'll be down there. I moved my show. The one I was going to do at 5:30, I moved it to noon. So I'm doing this one right now, so I can go down there because me and my son will be down there at 3 o'clock. So, yeah. Yeah. He is all over the Ohtani thing. He said, Reds Fest, they will announce Ohtani. I would love that, but I don't think that's going to
The
happen.
only thing holding that back is just if Ohtani wants to come here, because I firmly believe they've got the money to spend on it. That, and if he's looking for a really, really long-term contract. There was a great point made by our host of Lockdown MLB that maybe he signs like a 2-year deal where this year he's just a hitter, and then next year he brings the pitching back, and then when he shows everybody that he is still the ace pitcher and the MVP hitter, then he goes back on the open market and makes even more money.
And
so
he's still going to get a ton of money.
Yeah. Even if it's a 2-year deal, it's going to be $100 million for 2 years. But
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm for signing him. I would love to sign him. I don't know. I don't see. And I just don't see it.
It's something. No, and I don't. I mean, as I always tell Steve, I said it's probably a greater than 0% chance of happening, but it's less than 1%. But
that would be a great unveiling of Reds Fest. You just pull the curtain back, all of a sudden Shohei's there with a Reds jersey on.
I think I'd black out if that happened. I don't even know. Because you talk about it, that was something that they wrote about with Joey with him leaving, and the not even just the player Joey, but the marketability of Joey. You bring in Shohei Ohtani, who is the master baseball marketer. I mean, that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I'm here for it. I would hope that would happen. Either way, Jeff, I hope to see you down at Reds Fest tomorrow. Tell everybody where to find you guys. I know you guys are writing for Inside the Reds now. So plug whatever you want before I let you go.
Yeah, man, we are busy over at InsideTheReds.com, Sports Illustrated's new Reds website. Plus, you can find us on your favorite podcasting app and on YouTube. We're going to be with you every day. In fact, going to hop off here and do a show here at 1 p.m., really diving into Nick Martinez and how he fits into this pitching staff.
Is that on Locked On?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we'll have to make sure you guys flip over there. I got to let you go then so you can go do that show.
Doing that and then talking to Tony and Austin at 2. We're talking all kinds of baseball today.
Hey, if you're talking to Tony Pike today, you have to find out why he doesn't want to come on my show. I've offered him free beer. I've had Richard Skinner go after him. I've had all the Bengals beat writers come after him, and he still keeps avoiding me. I don't understand what the problem is.
Tony, he's his own guy.
Just tell him Strawberry Ice said hi.
Will do.
All right, thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
See you, dude.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Like I said, it's I first time I've done a Reds off-season show in a while because last year they didn't do anything, so there was nothing to talk about, and I felt bad for Jeff Carr, who had to do a show every single day trying to talk about the Reds, and there wasn't anything to talk about. So either way, the Reds have signed 2 players. They're not done yet. I do really like the trade for Glasnow and Arozarena. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But if you do that, I do want Glasnow to get a contract extension because it is going to take a couple of our big prospects. But if you add Randy Arozarena to this ball club and this outfield, you are pretty well set. And I, again, am for that. So anyway, let me get to the Facebook groups that let me live stream. And as always, I appreciate every single one of them. They are Who Dey Nation, Who Dey Legion, Bearcat Reds, Bearcat Ruckus, Radical Reds, the Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar. And they can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Chernobyl. TikTok is at Iceman90. I'll be pulling this out later on today, putting on the podcast. I'm on BeanPod, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. Leave a 5-star review and a comment so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. YouTubers, you guys are awesome. I'm at 2,439 subscribers. As always, I appreciate every single one of you guys. I'll be back on again today. Let's see here. With, Bengals UK. I have them on. One guy. He's the leader of the pack. They were here about a month ago. Got a tour of Paycor Stadium. Got to do a whole bunch of cool stuff there. He actually got to narrate the Bengals YouTube show. So I just want to talk to him about his thoughts on their visit to Cincinnati, how they liked it, because this is, I think, the second time they've been here. So anyway, I will be back live at 5:30 today. Other than that, I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Today at 5:30, tomorrow at noon, and I'll see you down at Reds Fest. Other than that, that's just sports, baby. See ya!